All right, in our weather forecast, we've got more August heat on the way, although this is the time of year where I personally, as a meteorologist, start to get excited about when is that first cold front going to come. I mean, it's on the early side to be thinking about that, but I think a lot of us are kind of turning our attention that way. But certainly for our forecast for the next 7 days plus, and lots of heat, not too much rain the next few days, but we do have a higher chance later in the week. We don't have any tropical threats here, I'm happy to say, so we're doing fine for at least the next week plus as far as the tropics goes, and hopefully longer than that. We're at 86 at Kenner. We have temperatures north of the lake, lower 80s. Macomb, Mississippi in the upper 70s. Feels like temperatures still as high as almost 100, especially right along the south shore of Lake Pontchartrain, including the lakefront and downtown. Our highs today were in the 90s. I do think Gonzales might have run a bit high there, but most spots, including Bogalusa, middle to even upper 90s. And we are looking quieter on radar after a flare-up of a couple of showers and storms, especially in the coastal Mississippi areas to the east of our viewing area earlier this evening. Tonight, low temperatures in the 70s. Tomorrow, high temperatures near 95. Very close to that, I think, for most spots. And today we did have a heat advisory, but our dew point temperatures came down just a touch. Not enough to make it feel really nice outside, but just enough to kind of keep those heat indices from soaring to about 110. So tomorrow we'll say about 105. So just your kind of regular heat as opposed to extreme or special advisory prompting kind of heat. Tomorrow we have our partly cloudy skies expected. Here's our forecast as we head through the night. Our model has been putting in a couple of morning showers, so just a heads up, there might be one or two of those, but probably not many. This is the afternoon. You saw noon, 3 p.m., and then on toward 5 p.m., maybe a 30% or so chance for a couple of showers and storms. And then by 9 p.m. we're looking quieter. We have a big high, but actually it's allowing still a couple of showers and storms probably in the next few days. It retreats off to the west. And then we also look, of course, we've been talking about Erin. So we will be hearing more about Hurricane Erin through this entire week. It's one of these long-lived and powerful storms that's just churning up a lot of energy. It is expected to curve around this big high pressure area, which will be breaking down over the Atlantic. So that's why we're looking for that northward and then eventually northeasterly kind of movement. And it's going to do a couple of things, it looks like, as we turn our attention to that forecast. You saw for us little troughing feature over the Gulf Coast. That could bring rain chances up a little at the end of this week. But back to Hurricane Erin, it's Category 4, and it's going to do a couple of things, including probably weakening just a touch. Still could be a major hurricane for a while, though, for several days, and then also expanding in size as that intensity of the winds comes down just a little bit, and that will be due to some increased shear. You can see here on our satellite imagery, well, now we're going to go to radar and satellite, that tiny eye with the eye wall replacement cycle happening now. And look at Puerto Rico, almost the entire island, looking at least light rain, and thankfully not really heavy bands for most spots over there, although there are some setting up here close to the Virgin Islands. So we are looking at it to continue moving off, probably skirting fairly close to at least some islands in the Bahamas, and then wrapping around and curving around that big high pressure and getting drawn to the north. Still maybe a Cat 3 through Wednesday, and thankfully it does look like it's not really going to affect too many land areas. We'll see about Bermuda at the end of this week, but the East Coast will get some high surf and rip currents, and it doesn't look like a very high chance to get even any sort of tropical storm force winds, maybe the extreme fringes of North Carolina with a low chance of that, but thankfully not looking like an East Coast problem for most of our land and coastal spots anyway. Off the coast, it could be rougher, of course. We have this next spot that we've been talking about. This has a low chance. It's for a wave way out in the Atlantic, but once it reaches this zone, it will have a low chance of development. That other one not expected to do much. Here's Erin's low pressure centers, and look at this, by Wednesday, still nothing really showing up. Then this is by Friday, almost a whole week out. It's not even at the Caribbean. The GFS wants to develop it. The Euro does eventually and keeps it over the Western Atlantic. The GFS has it moving a bit more toward Cuba by the end of the upcoming week. Way too early to say exactly what it'll do, but just a heads up, we'll be tracking that for you. No threats here for the next week, plus 7-day forecast shows the higher rain chance toward the end of the week and next weekend, and temperatures come down a bit.